Right, so while I have a little bit of quiet over here, and I see that there's reception, so let's start a sikha. Here, this is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And I imagine this is a continuation of the previous one, like in the 50s. And the Rebbe is talking about, this is a continuation of what we learned before. By the way, this is in Likuti Sichot's base. I mistakenly wrote that it's in Dalet, but it's not. And it's talking about Succot, the holiday of Succot. Now, there's 3 holidays that come in a row in the month of Tishrei. There's Rosh Hashanah, and there's Yom Kippur, and then after that there's Sukkot. And really, it's a progression. It's really a progression, and it's explained even more Kabbalistically in depth in a book which is called Kuntras Umayan, written by the 5th Rebbe of Chabad. But suffice it to say that on Rosh Hashanah, that we arouse the highest levels of God to be a king. And after we've aroused this level of that we want to be God's servants and we want to be God's king, that we want God to be our king. So that's like service. That's a serious day, Rosh Hashanah. And then after that comes a happy day, and that's Yom Kippur. But it's concealed happiness. It's the source of happiness. It says that the high priest went into the Holy of Holies, and that there were no happier days for the Jewish people than, it says, Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av. It's right in the end of the Gemara in Tainis, Mishnah actually. There are no happier days for the Jewish people than Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av. And Tu B'Av, it gives all sorts of reasons why, the 15th day of Av. But Yom Kippur, the reason is that all the Jewish people get forgiven. So it's a happy day. But it's happiness that's very deep. It's the source of happiness. And all this happiness is revealed in the holiday of Sukkot. So let's do as much as we can until the people come back. They all went out for various reasons. So I'm alone here, so here we go. So one of the outstanding commandments, we talked about this last time, in Sukkot was that they poured water every day there were these 2 funnels on one of the corners of the altar, which was like the main feature of the Holy Temple. As you came into the Holy Temple, you saw this big altar that was there. And the Kohanim, the priests were the only ones that go up on it. The Kohanim, they used to every day pour water on it. It was a big, big ceremony they made, big, happy ceremony. And even the drawing of the water for the pouring, the mitzvah, the commandment was to pour it, but even the whole drawing water was a tremendous happiness. And the Rebbe points out, we talked about this before, that the reason they made this tremendous rejoicing, it says they didn't even sleep all night. We'll talk about it a little bit. It says they didn't sleep, their eyes did not see sleep for like 7 nights in a row. Even though it wasn't no commandment to draw the water, only to pour the water, because there was a group of Jews called the Tzedukim. And they believed something like in later generations would come out, the Christianism, that the rabbis were not holy people. The rabbis were just people, and that you could disagree with them and change. And these were the rabbis of the Talmud that were going to become the rabbis of the Talmud. But these were the same rabbis that interpreted all of the Torah to let us know what to do, to know what the commandments are. Because only in Judaism are there commandments, and the commandments, it's the only religion that has commandments. The commandments come directly from God, but they're written in the Torah, but they're written in such a way that you don't really know what they mean. Like what is a mezuzah, and what is totafot on your eyes, and which day is Shabbat? What are you supposed to do on Shabbat? You're not supposed to work. What is work? So it doesn't explain, which day of the week is the 7th day. Who knows what? Maybe just it doesn't say you have to keep just one day of your life. Keep Shabbat. So everything, nothing is clear in the Torah. You have to have the rabbis to explain it. That's why God wanted. And they went against the rabbis. So because they went against the rabbis, and the rabbis were the ones that said you have to pour the water, because that's not written clearly in the Torah. Remember, we learned that in Likuti Torah. So therefore, the rabbis instituted that there would be a tremendous rejoicing for the even just the pouring of just the drawing of the water. Okay. So it says, regarding this Simchat Beit HaSheva, the rejoicing of the drawing of the water. Zok the Gemara that says, Misha lo ra simchos beis she'eva, a person who never saw the drawing of the water for the simchos beis she'eva, lo ra simcha miyamav, never saw joy in his life. The parasha pashut in them, the simple meaning is, as the Gemara tells us, the greatness from Simchat Beit She'eva was Lagabi Ir, regarding it, is all of the other joys that there can possibly in the world be, they're not really joy, happy. You have other types of happiness, that's wonderful, but if you would be at the joy of this drawing of the water, there's no joy that can compare to that. I mean, usually speaking, when is a person happy? When something good happens to him, right? You go to a wedding or something, everybody's dancing and you're really happy, something good happens. So there's also, there's joy and happiness you can do artificially. People take drugs, or you just dance because everybody else is dancing. You don't know why, you're just dancing. Just want to release, or music, good music, or nowadays you don't need just music, just the drums playing, that's good enough. Drum, a little bit of a melody. So no matter what type of happiness you can find, even if it's happiness that's based on something, you have children, you just won the lottery, something like that, that's absolutely nothing, no joy can compare to this joy which they felt in the holy temple when they drew the water. This is in the second temple. This means to water the water. I'm sorry. Und das meinen the Wasser, and this is what the words mean. They're Werter, the words. Mi shelo, a person who did not see the joy of the drawing of the water, Azagam had given understood, even though he did see other things that are happy, and he did rejoice before in his life, from Desvig, and nevertheless, Lora Simcha Me'amav, he really never saw joy. If you didn't see this type of joy, you never really saw joy in your life. Darfman understands, says the Rebbe, we have to understand the Lashon of Rizal, the language of the rabbis, is Dacha Lashon Maduyak, it's very, very exact. Oich oib, men, vil der tzion, if you want to say something about the greatness of the joy of this water drawing ceremony, Simchat Beit She'eva, as haben ze doch gekent, sagen, you could have said exactly, Bekitzer, short. What do they have to say if you did not see? If you did not see the joy of the drawing of the water, you never saw joy in your life. Why make such a long, convoluted sentence? Say it in a positive way. That the joy, say simply, the joy of the Simchat Beit She'eva is the greatest joy that could be. Huh? Just say, Simchat Beit She'eva, he Simcha Agadola She'efshar. The greatest happiness that could possibly be is the drawing of the water. Why does it have to say in a negative way? Any person who did not see the drawing of the water, dancing, and the happiness, you never saw happiness. Why such a negative one? We also understand, what do we care, and especially now? What do we care about this joy? This joy was like 2,000 years ago. We're not going to see the joy of the base of, maybe in the temple, the third, Moshiach will build the third temple. But until then, so. Nochmer, even more, I'm sorry, not their Indian is, nor their Indian is, but I'm sorry, the reason is like this. The Gemara says, a teaching, in avoiding serving God. If you did not see the rejoicing in the holy temple with the drawing of the water, it's a gam as there remained, even though you might think, as that you did have joy, and you were participated in this joy, right? Your daughter got married or something like that. Your whatever it is that your 50-year-old ugly daughter got married to a wonderful person, and now you're really happy. Oh, you're dancing around. You never thought she would get married. She got married. Wow, that is tremendous happiness, huh? Is be'emes, you thought you were happy. Is be'emes hat oiv gefährlich nor iber fer iber flech iber flech lech. He was happy. You thought you were happy. But in the truth, you never really had happiness. Why? Because Vipal, as had nit, then you never saw and never participated in the joy of the drawing of the water, can in kind simchanit, and you really never saw any joy. So you had joy in your life. It's nothing. I mean, you were really happy and you were good, but you should know that it's nothing compared to the joy that was back then in the drawing of the water. When thus is the lashon, that's what it means. A person who did not see the joy of the drawing of the water never saw joy in his life. And it was coming to tell you a lesson that don't think you're finished. There's a type of a joy, no matter what type of joy you had, having joy is very important. It also tells you that. The beer Indian is the explanation is like this. The Indian from Simcha, what is joy? It means a royce from Hagbalos. It means going out from your limitations. Going out from your limitations. Okay. Therefore, Zen mir, we see, as Bashas Einer is Freilach, when a person is happy, with true joy, as Tutor Demel, then he does a Zel Chazach, such things. This is a big miracle that this thing works. He does such things. Zachen was the mile which is above limitations, right? Could be a normal, regular person who's really happy, does a somersault, who knows what. But the reason which brings this joy is an inyan versus hechlet's higher from any sort of limitations. Because this is dacha kalal, this is a kalal, it's a general principle as the mesoviv, that the result of something is according to the cause of it, is vipal, because the result, the joy, is above any limitations. That's what joy is in general. Is das ahora, this teaches you, as oich tesiva, must be that the cause of joy has to be something which is above any limitations, above your expectations. Thus, this means, as hat bekumen, an inyan was I guess, hat sich garnit gerecht, a thing which he had not at all expected that it would happen. That's what causes him a good thing, that it was above his expectations. Was his hech, which is above any shars of seichel, is mitzad dem, because of this unlimitedness, was had bekum when roop dem arois, a mesovim becomes the cause. Because of the cause, which is a big surprise, and it's very good, and he never expected it would happen. So this brings about a result, believable, which is also a surprise and unexpected. He's happy in a way that he never dreamed about before. Thus is oich der tam. This is the reason. This is the reason. This is the time. When thus is the time. This is the reason why it says that joy breaks through all barriers. In other words, if you go, in other words, you go into a job interview, or you're going in for something that's, you want to make a good impression on somebody. If you go in very anxious and not happy, then your chances of getting chosen are smaller. But if you go in with a happy, positive feeling that this person's going to want me, and I'm very good, and you're sure of yourself, and you go in a happy way, as just your attitude of happiness is already to your good. It's already on your, what do you say, the one of the reasons to hire you or to get married to you or whatever you want. A happy person. So sometimes you can see that a person who's happy and he's positive, even if he might be lacking a few of the good qualities which are required for this job or whatever it is, but if you have a positive attitude, that itself breaks through all the barriers. There's a long story about the Rebbe telling somebody, it was a fellow called the Rebbe Shmuel Gorevich, that he went to France to start a Chabad house over there. And he vaguely knew French. His wife was French, but he didn't. And he went into the Rebbe before he went, and the Rebbe said the most important thing in France is you have to have a happy face. He says the French people love a happy face. And sure enough, over there he had some trouble, big money problems, whatever it was. And he had to go and see this important minister who was a known sort of, a very bitter sort of a person. And it ended up that this person said, I'll give you whatever you want because you have a happy face. He said, I know other religious people and they have very, depressed looking faces. You have a happy face. So happiness breaks through the barriers. As is Kamaim Apanim, it says that like water reflects a face, whatever face, also the heart of a man reflects a man. Like I said before, if you show happiness to a person, they'll show happiness back. Well, God is also called a man. He's called the man that's sitting on the throne. Azoivid appears like the Baal Shem Tov said in the sentence, Hashem Tzilcha, the God is your shadow. So it says like the face of man, so is reflected by man, and God is also called a man. So it says whatever you do, if you're happy, then God will face. Like it says God is your shadow. What does it mean, a shadow? A shadow moves according to the people, the person that makes the shadow. As a zoivi, a shatan, just like a shadow, it does exactly what the person does. So also, so to speak, that God is your shadow. That what you do, if you're happy, then God makes you happy. If you serve above the limitations, then God will be above the limitations. And therefore, B'shas der Adam, when a person below is in happiness, happy, when Adam is doch miloshen adma le'elyon, like it says man, the word Adam comes from the language admeh, I will be similar, Adam. And Nebuchadnezzar said, it's not such a good example, but Nebuchadnezzar, he compared himself to God. He said, I am like God, Adameh, I am similar to God. Azoi via state, like it says in the Shalah. Shalah is Rabbi Yeshaya Horvitz, wrote a book called Shnei Luchot Abrit. As darfun vert a mensch angerufen, that's why man is called Adam, because he is similar to God. As vert lamaila, so therefore, whatever we do, it will evoke from God the same joy. Now, there are people, there are religious Jews and everything that don't agree with this. They say that God cannot react to what we do, that God is above that, and that we just sort of make vessels and God decides what we do. But that's not what Chassidut teaches. Chassidut teaches that God reacts to what we do, not always in the way we expect, and not all the time that we want, but in the way that God wants. But nevertheless, God always reacts. Malchus the Rakia, Malchus is the kingship of heaven, is like the kingship of the earth. We'll go up to Yud, and that's it for today. As like this, as a Zoe via Lamata, just like below, that joy breaks through all limitations. Like I said, if you're going in for a big job interview, you have a happy face, so and that makes an impression on the person. And that will break through any preconceived barriers that he has. Azoy also above. Be'ez simcha, when we are happy, we make God happy, so to speak, as Keter up that goes away all of the limitations. In Avodas Adam, in the service of man, that was the thing of Shavuos. The thing of Sukkot. We were happy with the water. Why water? It says water is above understanding. It's not like wine that has a taste. They're all in the service of man, which man is called a small world. There are three ways to serve God: Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Hasadim. This is especially with the Jews, because only the Jews are supposed to learn the Torah. Non-Jew is not supposed to learn Torah, but non-Jews certainly do have prayer and good deeds. But by a Jew, there's three: learning Torah, prayer, that's Avoda, and Gemilas Hasadim. And all of them have to be in happiness. Giving charity, doing good deeds, Gemilas Hasadim, and prayer, it has to be in a happy, positive way. Vida Gemara, like the Gemara says, you're not supposed to stand and pray, not with being depressed and not by being lazy. Elemetoch simcha, you have to have positiveness and alacrity. Is tefillah, was eres kava avoda, which tefillah, prayer, which that's what's called serving God. Avoda, which is the service of the heart, that's called prayer, avoda. As Darv Zayin B'Simcha, you have to be happy. Also, we're learning Torah. You want to learn Torah, it has to be in a happy, positive way. Darv Zayin B'Simcha is happy. You're doing a wonderful thing. You're learning the Torah. The Gemara, like the Gemara says over there, but called Davar Halacha, Kain Davar Halacha. Also, you should stand up to pray. If you're through learning Torah, you should learn Torah because learning Torah makes you happy. Azoi oich der kav from Gemilas Hasadim. Just like a person has to be happy serving God with prayer and learning Torah, you're supposed to be happy, is also the same thing with giving charity and doing good deeds. But this is tzedakah. This is called charity. It's stated in the Torah. It says in the Torah, "Lo yireh levavacha," that when you give charity, you're not supposed to give it with a bad heart. The result, like the rabbis say, it says that if you give charity, you get a blessing, but if you make the person that you give money to feel good, you make him feel good, you say a good word to him, is you get blessed 11 blessings. So it comes out that all these three things of learning Torah and prayer and giving acts of kindness, it has to be serving God in a way of happiness. All right, let's do one more. We still haven't answered the question why it had to be negative, but we'll see what's this got to do with water. We already spoke as the reason for this true joy is above understanding. Is b'mela, so therefore it's verstandig, it's understood, as b'chdei, in order that you can serve God in learning Torah and doing commandments and prayer and giving charity is in happiness, so therefore it has to be a way which is above and beyond understanding. In other words, you have to understand as much as you can, but essentially you have to remember that you're serving God. And God, you can't understand what God is. That's called Kabbalah Dol, accepting the yoke. The room, because Be'ez the avoda is mitzad zayin havana, because if you're serving God in a way of understanding, for instance, you do this because you know it's going to get you into the world to come. You do this because it's going to give you a blessing, and maybe you'll, your daughter will get married, or somebody's going to get healthy, or something like that. Why not? You tried everything else. Let's try God also. Okay, that's all. It's okay if you want to do it that way, but you have to know that that's not really serving God. That's really serving yourself. Good, you're doing the right things. You're saying the right things, which you can't deny that. That's a good thing. But on the other hand, you also cannot deny that that is certainly not sufficient. The way you're supposed to serve God is that you got business with God over here. God, you can't understand what God is, and you certainly can't do it for your own personal benefit. Is thus an Indian, this is, if you do it according to your own understanding, because you want a reward, you want something, then this is limited. Can nitzayin darfur, you can't have real true joy. We go to file. All right, let's try to go. But as the avoda, if you serve God in a way of what's called Kabbalah Dol, accepting the yoke like an ox pulls the master, he doesn't understand what he's doing. That's where we should be, in addition to our understanding, in addition to our comprehension, in addition to asking questions, in addition to what you have to do. But the main motivation that you have is even when you have a million reasons not to serve God. There were Jews that were in concentration camps, and they were in Siberia where it was hard. They served God above understanding. They didn't put on tefillin in Auschwitz so they would get out faster. They just did it because it was another day that they were alive, another moment they could do what God wanted. This is a way which is higher than understanding. Was error line is dachamugbal, a human being is limited. Is there zich mevatla, so therefore you give yourself over on behalf zich, and you link yourself up with God, the Creator. How? By means of doing God's commandments. Was the mitzvah, whole word mitzvah comes from the language of joining. That's what the commandments are. They're joining the finite to the infinite. Was er is doch bilti mugba, which is unlimited. Is durach dem, by means of this, which he behavtzich, which he links himself up with God, who's unlimited, as poyalty brings about. Thus, of him, er arois, he goes out from his own limitations, that's the true idea of happiness. That's the true idea of happiness. And the Rebbe says, well, we can ask a question, and that question, let me just see what time it is. Okay, we got a crunch. Oh, here, I got a lot of time. It is now, what, 5:30? Yeah. Okay, let me just see how much we have to go over here. 1 second. Please bear with me. Let's see, this is the next page over here. No. Yeah, good. Okay, so we'll stop there. Very good. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop. A person can ask a question, and the question is going to be, what are you supposed to do with your intelligence? A human being is supposed to be logical and intelligent. What are you supposed to do? So that's what we're getting up to. Okay, yeah, okay, God willing, I hope we'll have time, and we'll continue, God willing, as soon as possible. Have a good day with Moshiach now. Thank you very much. God bless you all. And have a good year, a good, happy, healthy, blessed new year.